regarding safety and piety. One such idea could involve prioritizing pilgrims who have never visited Tirupati over repeat visitors, thereby ensuring more equitable darshan. VIP darshans too need a rethink. A robust database and a roster system could help regulate devotee flow and ensure fairness. Additionally, there is a need to consider the ecological impact on the Tirumala Hills, which are a part of Shishanchalam Biosphere Reserves. Growing anthropogenic pressures stemming from deforestation, urbanization, and massive footfalls pose a significant threat to its biodiversity. Balancing the human need to connect with the divine and the imperative to preserve nature requires an innovative and sustainable approaches. These could include capping the number of pilgrims every day, promoting virtual darshan experiences, and enforcing strict conservation policies. A collaborative effort between religious and government authorities, environmental experts, and public is essential to create a framework that prioritizes safety, accessibility, and ecological preservation. Social justice and a lost chance by a prime minister. At the first state dinner of his presidency on November 24, 2009, Barack Obama, the first non-white president of the United States, hosted Manmohan Singh, the first non-Hindu prime minister of India. In the oldest and biggest democracies, the era was high noon of liberalism. The coalition of minorities appeared ascendant in both countries, though Manmohan Singh would not be counted as a political leader like Obama. He too represented a political process that was common to both India and US, the climax and the then crisis of liberalism on social, economic, and international affairs fronts. Mr. Obama and Manmohan Singh understood each other better than they would be the politics of their countries. Manmohan Singh had a keen sense of global development challenges. He championed the India US civil nuclear deal, economic liberalization, and also amended New Delhi's position in climate change negotiations. As a child of partition and as Nehruvian, Manmohan Singh understood the necessity of religious harmony. His presence, the decisions, and indecisions would transform Indian politics. It is essential to take note of it in order to understand the present day politics of India. There were two paradoxes in Manmohan Singh's rise as a prime minister in 2004, both of which speak to the vibrancy of Indian democracy. The anti-Sikh riots of 1984 marked a low point in Indian pluralism. Sikhs made up about 1.72% of India's population, and the fact that one of them could become prime minister 20 years later marked a high point. The majority Hindus did not find anything problematic. The second paradox is that the vote in 2004 was against the celebration of the market. Manmohan Singh, who became Prime Minister, was a votary of the market. He would reluctantly follow a welfarist agenda dictated by democratic politics. Now to his present decisions and indecisions. The UPA one was a coalition of religious and linguistic minorities and subaltern social groups, but when it was reconstituted following the 2009 elections, subaltern representatives from the Hindi belt were left out. The left was replaced with Trinamool Congress. The DMK continued. Political power in India between 2004 and 2014 was controlled along with Manmohan Singh by Sonia Gandhi, Ahmed Patel, Pranab Mukherjee, A.K. Antony. The coalition elected two presidents of India, Pratibha Patil, Pranab Mukherjee, and Hamid Ansari as the vice president. Religious and linguistic minorities were represented for all 10 years, but subaltern castes were pointedly expelled in 2009 by Congress managers. Nobody in the above list says, save perhaps Sonia Gandhi, had any capacity to get an extra vote for Congress in the Hindi heartland. In fact, the very optics of the overwhelming presence of religious minorities and upper caste Hindus at the top turned out to be one of the causes of the shift by the other backward classes and OBC and Dalits in the favor of Bharatiya Janata Party in 2014. This has parallels with what happened in US in 2016. Manmohan Singh was indecisive on many issues, but there was one question, apart from India US nuclear deal, that he put his foot down for us. There was to veto the social justice agenda put by cabinet colleagues Arjun Singh and Meera Kumar, Minister of Human Resource Development and Social Justice Minister, respectively, in UP1. There cannot be reasonable explanation for the surprise surge of Congress in 2009 in the heartland. It won 21 of 80 Lok Sabha seats in Uttar Pradesh, for instance, without taking into account the OBC quota in higher educational institutions driven by Arjun Singh and the OBC parties in UPA 1. The battle of wits between two Singhs on the quota question is instructive of the imbalance between secularism and socialism justice that made UPA's promise of progress short-lived. Manmohan Singh owned it. Manmohan Singh resisted Arjun Singh's plan for expanding quotas. It all started with Supreme Court judgment in 2005, which brought about dispute of the power of the state to enforce the reservation policy in admissions to private educational institutions. Many states had quotas in unaided institutions, which were questionable after the court decision. Arjun Singh championed it, and Parliament amended the constitution to insert a question to Article 15, which specifically enabled reservations in admission to educational institutions, including private educational institutions, whether aided or unaided by the state, other than minority educational institutions. A new anti-reservation movement erupted in Upper India while Peninsular India remained calm. The then Human Resources Development Ministry under Arjun Singh drafted a bill that proposed OBC quotas in all government institutions of higher education, which already had scheduled caste and scheduled tribe quotas for all the three categories in private ones. The Manmohan Singh-led Prime Minister's office instructed Arjun Singh to bifurcate the bill, one for aided and the second for unaided ones. Arjun Singh got both drafts ready late evening on a day before they were to be taken up by Union Cabinet. Manmohan Singh instructed the bill for private ones to be kept aside. Though the move for caste quotas in private institutions was halted, quota in government institutions of higher education rallied OBC communities in the heartland behind the Congress party in 2009. Manmohan Singh and the technocratic Delhi-based Congress managers interpreted the 2009 results as an endorsement of employment guarantee scheme or even the US nuclear deal. Arjun Singh was denied a berth in the new council. Meera Kumar was restrained as Lok Sabha Speaker. Ms. Kumar had tried to implement an item in the National Common Minimum Program. It had said the UPA government is very sensitive to the issue of affirmative action, including reservations in the private sector. It will immediately initiate a national dialogue with all political parties, industry, and other organizations to see how best the private sector can fulfill the aspirations of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe youth. Ms. Kumar convened a meeting of industry leaders to open a dialogue, inviting on the ire of Manmohan Singh, who instructed her to cancel it. Nobody in the National Advisory Council, whose mandate was to implement the NCMP, said anything. Meanwhile, OBC MPs were pointing out in 2006 that a single governor in the country was from their communities. On this question, Manmohan Singh remained silent, indecision. The hostility towards the social justice politics was happening alongside a discussion on the welfare of Muslim Dalits and OBC Christians. The court's Inamdar judgment on reservations is in the private educational institutions and the appointment of such a committee to study the condition of Muslims happened months apart in 2005, triggering fresh debates on communal and caste questions. The Congress, partly by intention, pitched the Muslims against subaltern Hindus, thinking that it would break the OBC Muslim social coalition that had emancipated the party in the Hindi heartland. But the consequences were unintended. OBC Dalit segments of the heartland became the most fertile ground for Hindutva subsequently, as they came to believe that non-BJP parties were trying to provide quotas for Muslims at their cost. It is not a coincidence for a badly drafted line by Manmohan Singh about minorities having the first claim over national resources continues to haunt the Congress. In fairness, Manmohan Singh was following traditional Congress line of ignoring the OBCs, focusing on the rest. Arjun Singh sensed the ground had shifted and the OBCs counted. The other politician who sensed that by 2009 was Narendra Modi, who addressed subaltern Hindus. Arjun Singh crosswalked with two Congress Prime Ministers, one on secularism and then on social justice. In 1992, he resigned from the PV Narasimha Rao government for its failure to protect the Babri Masjid. In 2009, he was denied a cabinet berth in Manmohan Singh. The Congress party included in its 2024 election manifesto a promise to the OBC SC/ST reservation in private educational institutions, an idea stalled by Manmohan Singh. Rahul Gandhi today wants to rebuild the Congress on twin planks of secularism and social justice. Manmohan Singh had an opportunity. The red flag as China's expansionist policy strategy rolls on. In recent days, India has witnessed two significant incidents of Chinese aggression along the China-India border, highlighting vulnerabilities that not only threaten India's territorial integrity but also undermines its sovereignty. The Chinese government's announcement on the construction of a dam on Yarlung-Zangbo River and the creation of two new countries in northeastern Ladakh have set alarm bells ringing. India has strongly condemned these two Chinese actions, asserting that they are illegal and a direct challenge to India's sovereignty. In response to China's ambitious hydropower project, India has expressed concern, noting that it is monitoring the situation and it will take necessary measures to safeguard its national interest. The developments are particularly disturbing given that the recent consensus on troop disengagement along the line of actual control. These new moves further underscores the unpredictability of China's approach in the region. India is not alone in facing the brunt of China's expansionist policies. Other South Asian countries such as Nepal and Bhutan have been subjected in a similar manner to Chinese territorial encroachment. Disputes over land boundaries persist between China and several in South Asian neighbors, and China's unilateral actions with respect to transboundary rivers, particularly Brahma and Indus river systems, have potential to jeopardize water security in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Pakistan. Despite these challenges, each country has opted to engage with China on bilateral basis. The proposed Chinese dam, with an annual capacity to generate 300 billion kilowatt hours of electricity a year, is located on the lower reaches of Yarlung-Jangbo near the China-India border. This massive infrastructure project presents significant challenges for downstream countries, particularly India and Bangladesh. The construction of dam is likely to reduce the amount of water and silt reaching downstream, which could have long-term consequences for agriculture, fisheries, and biodiversity in India and Bangladesh. Further, during monsoon season or in times of geopolitical tensions, the uncontrolled release of water could result in devastating floods along the Indian border, which will be an issue of strategic vulnerability for India. In anticipation, India has accelerated plans to build its own hydropower project and reservoirs, including an investment of $1 billion to expedite the construction of 12 hydropower stations in Arunachal Pradesh. China's recent actions, including the creation of two new countries, are a part of ongoing strategy of cartographic aggression aimed at asserting control over disputed territories. This kind of tactic is intended to gain strategic leverage over its regional adversaries. China's territorial disputes with India are multifaceted, with its most recent aggression occurring along the western front, specifically in Ladakh. Additionally, China continues to lay claim to Arunachal Pradesh, a state that is an inalienable part of India. Beyond India, China also asserts overlapping claims on territories in countries such as Nepal and Bhutan. China's tactics in asserting territorial claims, such as remaining locations with Indian controlled territory, establishing settlements in disputed areas, and incorporating contested regions into official maps are becoming increasingly visible. For instance, in 2023, the Chinese government standardized 11 locations in Arunachal Pradesh to assert its ownership following similar actions in 2021 and 2017. However, international law does not recognize territorial claims based solely on cartographic assertion in various landmark cases, which the ruling of ICJ on the ministers Miniquers and Echo's dispute between the United Kingdom and France, maps were deemed insufficient evidence of sovereignty. The ICJ ruled that effective administrative control and sovereignty are crucial for determining ownership of contested territories. Therefore, China's use of cartographic aggression, while provocative, lacks legal validity under international law. Nevertheless, China's efforts to establish a physical presence in disputed territories such as building settlements could complicate matters for India in the future. While China has sought economic engagement with all South Asian nations, its territorial and water-related disputes with these countries continue to strain regional relations. Unlike the Southeast Asian nations, which have employed collective responsive measures through multilateral organizations such as Mekong Ganga Commission and the Association for Southeast Asian Nations, South Asian countries, including India, have chosen to address their concerns with China on bilateral basis. This approach has largely been shaped by power asymmetry between China and its smaller neighbors. India, as the dominant regional power in South Asia, should take the lead in fostering a collective response to China's actions. A unified approach, including regional forums, multilateral institutions, or enhanced diplomatic coordination, would strengthen South Asia's position in addressing China's increasing influence and territorial ambitions. A comprehensive strategy involving diplomatic engagement and regional cooperation is crucial for India's sovereignty and regional security in the face of China's growing assertiveness. Oyo's new policy may be at the cost of rights. Payal Kapadia's award-winning film All We See Imagine as Light depicts the journey of young couple Anu and Shiaz struggling to find a private space. They may be fictional, but their problem certainly is not. Across the country, young people in premarital relationships have long found it difficult to come by privacy. Their issue is likely to be exacerbated by policies such as one recently implemented by Oyo. Last week, Oyo announced that unmarried couples would be disallowed from accessing its partner hotels. The hotels have been given the discretion to implement this policy in accordance with local sensibilities. Going forward, all couples will be required to present a valid proof of relationship while checking in. Explaining the reason for its move, Oyo stated that civil society groups and citizens had requested it to institute this rule. Initially, the policy will apply only to hotels in Meerut, Uttar Pradesh, but reports suggest that Oyo may expand its application to other cities. Beyond practicalities of providing valid proof of relationship, it is clear that Oyo is encouraging partner hotels to discriminate against customers based on their marital status. The burning question, however, is whether those adversely affected by this policy may find legal redress either in the constitution or otherwise. In various decisions, the Supreme Court has recognized individuals' right to enter premarital relationships in Shafin Jahan versus Ashokan KM 2020. In Shafin Jahan case, the court held that Article 21 of the Constitution includes the right of individuals to choose their partners whether within or outside marriage. Similarly, in Navtej Singh Johar, the court recognized the right of all individuals to physical, emotional, mental, and sexual companionship. Other decisions of the apex court have reaffirmed the right to privacy, dignity, and autonomy emanating from Article 21, meaning that people have freedom to engage in consensual, intimate, or sexual relationships and to cohabit with their partners if they choose. At their core, these decisions acknowledge the freedom to conduct oneself in a manner of one's choosing. For many unmarried couples, accessing hotel services is one way to exercise these rights. Individuals in premarital relationships apart, persons of different genders who are friends, colleagues, or cousins require OYO services. Under constitutional scheme, fundamental rights enshrined in Part 3 of the Constitution are ordinarily enforceable against the state and its instrumentalities, not against non-state actors. In other words, citizens may seek constitutional remedies from courts when state infringes upon their fundamental right, but not when the private property hinders their exercise. This is because constitutional rights are generally thought to apply vertically, that is, against the state, and not horizontally, that is, between private individuals or entities. However, the Constitution contains three express provisions which depart from traditional vertical model of rights. Article 15, Clause 2 stipulates that no citizen shall, on ground of any religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them, be prevented from accessing shops, public restaurants, hotels, and places of public entertainment, or using wells, tanks, bathing ghats, roads, and public places of public resort funded by the state or dedicated to public use. Article 17 forbids the practice of untouchability, and Article 23 prohibits human trafficking and forced labor. In Kaushal Kishore versus State of Uttar Pradesh 2023, the Supreme Court travelled beyond the schema of horizontal right by holding that the right under Article 21 could be enforced even against private parties. While Article 15 Clause 2 would prevent OYO from denying its services to customers based on caste, religion, and other grounds listed, it may not readily constitute a bar against discrimination on the ground of marital status. Separately, the effect of decision in Kaushal Kishore case remains to be seen. Commentators have criticized on being unclear and in absence of coherent, consistent jurisprudence on this subject. It is uncertain whether unmarried individuals can enforce their rights under Article 21 against OYO. In Kaushal Kishore versus State of Uttar Pradesh, the Supreme Court travelled beyond the schema of horizontal rights by holding their right under Article 21 could be enforced even against private parties. Apart from constitutional rights and remedies, statutes may provide a model for the exercise of fundamental rights in transactions between private parties. While some enactments confer certain rights on women irrespective of marital status, the time may have come for lawmakers to enact an anti-discrimination law which protects individuals regardless of their gender against in the private sphere. The full and free exercise of our rights as citizens depend not only on state inaction but on private actors, be it as a member of the public family unit, a business undertaking, or a corporation creating the conditions for their exercise. This applies not only the context of individuals in premarital relationships who may seek commercial services, but also more broadly say to people who may wish to rent homes, who apply for employment in private establishments, or make offers to purchase land but are denied access on the basis of their marital status, caste, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other attributes. The tyranny of majority is often nowhere as evident in private sphere. An act may not be meet with an act may not meet with social approval, but the Constitution guarantees a right to do it anyway. The law, regardless of the form it takes, must protect this right. Infrastructure in government school catching up with private ones in 2024. The latest UDISE Plus reports show that infrastructure in rural school is on par with urban school compared to a decade ago. Government schools have notably improved in the provision of basic infrastructure facilities to students over the past 10 years and almost on par with private schools. Data show more than 80% of the schools are now equipped with functional electricity, ramps, boys and girls toilets, hand washers, and libraries. However, the availability of computers is higher among private schools compared to government schools, except for Kerala, whose figures have been above 90%. The share of government schools having computers is about 80% in other six states. Fatalities from a suspected outbreak of Marburg in Tanzania. Marburg virus originates in fruit bats and spread between people through close contact of bodily fluids of infected individuals or with surfaces such as contaminated bed sheets. The extent of the German economy's contraction in 2024, the number of flights diverted, the unexpected drop in UK's inflation in December, number of submarines that Indian Navy owns. India's Navy on Wednesday simultaneously launched a submarine destroyer and a frigate built at a state-run shipyard, underscoring the importance of protecting Indian Ocean region through which 95% of the country's trade moves. Does money have a legal standing? Blood money or diya finds footing in Islamic Sharia law. Under the rule of diya, a select quantity of valuable asset, primarily monetary, has to be paid by the perpetrator of the crime to the victim or the victim's family if the latter is dead. Provisions for the grant or receiving of blood money do not find place in India's formal legal system. However, the system does provide a way for the accused to negotiate with the prosecution through plea bargaining. As recently in 2019, the death sentence of Arjunam Athimuthu, hailing from Thanjavur in Kuwait, was commuted to life imprisonment after his family provided 30 lakh in blood money. Abdul Rahim, who was sentenced to death in 2006, was pardoned by the court after a blood money of 34 crore was paid. The death sentence awarded by the Yemen court to nurse Nimisha Priya from Kerala for murdering her business partner and subsequent debates and efforts surrounding her acquittal and repatriation, which involves monetary compensation paid to the victim's family, has brought the focus back on blood money and its implications. Behind the Wheel, uh, recounting the lives of Afghan women in books. Taliban has banned women from doing many things, and women are struggling with these barriers, including a stricture on education beyond middle school. In this backdrop, it's imperative to document how women are living through uncertainty, despair, as several writers are doing. Name the longest rail tunnel in the world. Gotthard Base Tunnel. Name the railway station which has the world's longest channel tunnel. Name the under construction tunnel in India which is slated to be the highest in the world. Shin Shinkunla Tunnel. Shinkunla Tunnel, 27-kilometer long structure which is technically a ring and runs around Large Hadron Collider, right? Significance of tunnel passing through Appalachian Mountains of Southwest Virginia. Natural tunnel. Name this tunnel road structure. Guoliang Tunnel, China. Pannum case. Panel seeks action against key person. Inquiry committee was set up on the basis of information given by US Justice Department, which had charged former RAW agent Vikas Yadav with conspiring to kill pro-Khalistan activist in 2023. The committee constituted to probe against organized gangs who undermined the security interest of both India and US has recommended legal action against an unnamed individual. A high-powered inquiry committee formed over a year ago based on information provided by United States to probe the role of organized criminal groups, terrorist organizations, and drug peddlers, submitted its report to the Union government recommending the expeditious legal action against an individual. The ministry did not identify the individual but said the person's earlier criminal links and antecedents came to notice during the panel's inquiry. Through a statement did not specify the details of the case, United States Department of Justice in October 24 charged Vikas Yadav, an Indian citizen and former RAW official, with directing a failed plot to murder pro-Khalistan activist and six for Justice Chief Guruvant Singh Pannum. The identity of Mr. Yadav, who was only identified in the CC1 in US court records, was disclosed in October 24 when the Federal Bureau of Investigation put him on its most wanted list. Mr. Yadav was arrested by the Delhi Police Special Cell in December 23 in an unrelated kidnapping and extortion case. He was granted interim bail by Delhi court in March 24. The court order identified him an ex-government employee, indicating that he was no longer employed by the CRPF. Mr. Yadav was on deputation to RAW when he was named by the US authorities in a foiled assassination plot. R.K. Handu, Mr. Yadav's counsel, told The Hindu that his client continues to be on bail and the next hearing in the extortion case is expected in February. The MHA said the inquiry panel was constituted in November 23 to probe the role of unorganized gangs who undermined the security interest of both India and US. Inquiry committee conducted its own investigations and also pursued leads provided by the US side. It received full cooperation from US authorities and two sides also exchanged visits. Also, after a long inquiry, committee has submitted its report to the government and recommended legal action against an individual whose earlier criminal links and antecedents came to notice during the inquiry. Gaza's ceasefire deal is ready, US and Hamas. Three Indian nuclear entities no more on US restrictions list. The United States on Wednesday removed restrictions on three Indian nuclear entities after over a week after National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan announced that Washington was finalizing steps to remove hurdles for civil nuclear partnership between Indian and American firms. Bhabha Atomic Research Center (IGCAR) and Indian Rare Earths, according to US Bureau of Industry. Red Letter Day for Navy declares captains of three frontier platforms. It is a red letter day for the Navy, for a country, and for everyone. I cannot express my joy. I can't tell you how proud I feel," said Captain Nitin Kapoor, commanding officer of INS Nilgiri, one of the three frontline platforms commissioned in the Indian Navy on Wednesday. The firepower of INS Nilgiri and its range of attack has increased. The deck rail system has been introduced for the first time in the country. Her heat signature has reduced considerably. The reflecting surfaces have come down due to the concealed deck. Her stability has increased, elaborated Kapoor. In a long-awaited move, this is the first time that structural changes have been made during the design and construction stage of shipbuilding to accommodate women officers and sailors. Speaking to fourth and last destroyer of the Project 15B INS Surad, Captain Sandeep Shori said, "This is the last and the best. Both the design and construction have matured. Even the time taken for construction has come down from launch to commissioning. We have received her in 31 months. The first ship has taken 54 months. Now ships are becoming available to Navy before the contractual time. We are combat ready and ready to roar. She is the best in class for air, surface and underwater capabilities." Captain Vineet Sharma, commanding officer of INS Vakshir. With this project 75 culminates. Old Vakshir was commissioned 50 years ago. New Vakshir is stealthiest and most advanced submarine in the world. It is conventional diesel electric submarine. It is greater threat to the adversary due to her long endurance. INS Vakir has covered a distance of 9,000 kilometers to reach the Australian coast. We intend to beat the record. Galwan incident with China should not get repeated, says Army Chief. After summons from panel, Meta apologizes for Zuckerberg's remark. House committee walks back summons after tech giant's India policy head terms election defeat comment an inadvertent error, adds India remains important for company. Trinamool MP says its bias towards certain parties must be questioned. Meta Platforms India Inc. policy head for India Shivnath Thukral on Tuesday apologized on behalf of the founder CEO Mark Zuckerberg, who on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast implies that India's incumbent government was defeated in 2024 election. The apology came shortly after Parliament Standing Committee on Information Technology Chairman Nishikant Dubey said that the Meta would be summoned to explain Mr. Zuckerberg's remarks. Mr. Dubey walked back the declaration after Thukral's apology. Indira Bhavan new Congress headquarters in Delhi opened. Congress leaders Mallikarjun Kharge, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi at the new party building in New Delhi on Wednesday. Lalu hints at Pashupati's entry in Grand Alliance. We are now fighting the BJP, RSS and the Indian state itself, says Rahul Gandhi. History no more, the ugly truth of the Congress now stand exposed by its leader. Centre Ladakh leaders discussed new land policy, plan to regularize government land in name of residents discussed at Home Ministry's talks with civil society leaders. Agastya's legacy to be the focus of Kashi Tamil Sangamam uh, Sangamam 3.0. SIT to look into 13 mysterious deaths in Jammu's Rajouri. In an attempt to address lack of diversity, INSA selects non-scientists too as its fellows. After steep import bill rejects more robust trade data likely. A week after Centre affected a dramatic 14.2 billion correction in India's import bill from April to November, the top government officials asserted on Wednesday that revisions to trade data are made in line with international standards and a standard operating procedure has now been put in place for most robust data. Trump moves an external revenue service to rake in foreign dues. India-China growth to soften in 2025. India is new Boeing CEO's first stop outside US. Boeing's new president, CEO Kelly Ortberg, in India this week is his first international visit after taking charge last August, met Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Tuesday. Mr. Ortberg is expected to hold business meetings with customers and partners in the country, including Tata Trust Chairman Noel Tata as per the industry sources. Singapore President honors Tarun Das. President of Singapore bestowed the highest honor to the city-state Tarun Das, former Director General of CII. All We Imagine as Light scores a nomination at 2025 BAFTA Awards. Sheikh Hasina's niece, Tulip Siddiqui, resigns as UK's Treasury Minister. English author Neil Gaiman denies rape and assault accusations. China and Sri Lanka agree to more investment economic cooperation. Bangladesh Supreme Court acquits Khalida Zia, clearing her way to contest election. Iran acknowledges Israel's tampering of centrifuge platforms using explosives. US securities regulator sues Tesla founder Elon Musk over purchase of Twitter shares. Russian strike forces Ukraine to shut down power grid. Alcaraz tips incredible Fonseca to be among the world's best soon. Akram unveils iconic white jackets for ICC Champions Trophy. Indian Men and women ease into Kho World Cup knockouts. World Rapid Champion Humpy to compete in Norway Chess Women. Punt set to play for Delhi in Ranji Trophy games against Saurashtra. Pascal's previous tryst with India and World Cup. I'm good enough and I really think I can make a comeback. Karun Nair. Strange particle possesses mass when moving in one direction, not another. Physicists stress subatomic particles to enable discovery. The CERN supercollider smashes billions of protons head-on with as much energy as the dawn of the universe. Recently, researchers used a magnetic field 2.7 lakh times stronger than the Earth's to discover semi-Dirac fermions. US Japan moon landers launch on single rockets.